Everyone wants me, but I want you human. The alien girl chooses the human. The galaxy was large, old, and full of wonders, but there were very few beings who could make it stop and hold its breath. Lyris was one of them. She stood at the center of the Hall of Concord, a vast floating chamber made of light silver crystal and slow-moving energy rings. The walls showed stars from 100 systems, each one watching, waiting. Delegates from dozens of species filled the chamber, each carefully placed according to rank, biology, and importance. Every eye was on her. Some eyes glowed, some shimmered, some did not blink at all. Lyris felt them all. She was tall by human standards, slender, with smooth, pale skin that seemed to softly glow on its own. Her eyes held shifting colors, never the same for more than a moment. Her long hair floated slightly, moved by the faint energy field her body naturally produced. She was calm on the outside. Inside, she was tired. From the moment she was born, the galaxy had wanted her. Her species, the Elendari, were already rare, but Lyris was different even among them. Her mind connected patterns faster than advanced machines. Her emotions allowed her to understand others deeply, even species that could not speak in words. Her biology adapted quickly, making her a perfect bridge between civilizations. To the galaxy, she was not a person. She was a solution. One by one, representatives spoke. A tall crystalline being promised her a future where she would guide their people into a golden age of logic and order. A smooth-voiced diplomat from a powerful empire offered luxury, safety, and influence beyond imagination. A collective intelligence spoke as one, explaining how joining them would end loneliness forever. They all wanted her. They all needed her. They all believed they deserved her. Lyris listened politely. She always did. That was expected of her. Then her eyes drifted, almost by accident, to the far side of the hall. There, sitting in a much smaller seat than the others, was a human. His name was Evan Carter. He did not glow. He did not float. He did not command attention. He was wearing a simple dark uniform with a small human symbol on the chest. His hair was brown, slightly messy, and his face was calm but alert. He held a thin data tablet, though he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at her, not like the others. There was no hunger in his eyes, no calculation, no sense of ownership. He looked curious and thoughtful, and strangely careful, as if he did not want to disturb her. Lyris frowned slightly. Humans were new to the wider galaxy, not weak but not powerful either. Not famous for intelligence or strength. They had no special abilities that made them stand out, which made it strange that they were here at all. Most species assumed humans would stay quiet observers for another few centuries. Yet there Evan was, not speaking. Not trying to impress, just watching. When the final delegate finished speaking, the chamber grew quiet. Soft light dimmed to signal the end of formal presentations. Lyris stood. The entire hall leaned forward. "I thank you all," she said, her voice gentle but clear, carried perfectly by the chamber's systems. "Your offers are generous. I will take time to consider." This was expected. No one argued. As she turned to leave, her gaze met Evan S. again. For a brief moment, something passed between them. A silent question, maybe, or simple awareness. Evan nodded once, respectful, and looked away. Lyris paused. That was new. Later, in the quiet of her private chamber, Lyris stood by a wide window that showed the stars. Ships moved slowly in the distance, each one belonging to a different civilization that hoped to take her home. Her attendants waited behind her, silent. "They all want answers," one of them said gently. "I know," Lyris replied. "Humanity made no formal request," another attendant added. "They sent only an observer." Lyris turned. "Why?" The attendants exchanged looks. One finally answered, "Their leaders said they did not believe it was their place to ask for you." Lyris felt something twist inside her chest. Not anger, confusion, curiosity. "Request the human," she said. The attendants hesitated. "As a delegate?" "No," Lyris said. "As a person." Evan was surprised when he was escorted into her chamber. He had expected to sit quietly, record data, and return home with a report that humanity had once again been ignored by history. He had not expected this. Lyris stood near the window when he entered. Up close, her presence was even stronger. Not threatening but heavy, like standing near something important, he bowed slightly, unsure of proper protocol. "You wanted to see me?" "Yes," she said. "Please sit." He did. That alone surprised her. Most beings hesitated, unsure how to act around her. Evan simply followed the request. "You did not speak today," Lyris said. "I wasn't asked to," Evan replied honestly. "You could have spoken anyway. I could have, he agreed, but I didn't think it was right. Why? Evan thought for a moment. Because everyone else was talking about what they wanted from you. I didn't want to add to that. Lyris studied him. What do you want from me, human? Evan met her gaze, steady but respectful. Nothing. The word echoed in the chamber. That is not possible, Lyris said softly. It is, Evan replied. I was sent to listen, to understand, not to claim. No one had ever said that to her before. Does your species not want what I can offer? She asked. Evan smiled slightly. Of course they do, anyone would. But wanting something doesn't mean you're entitled to it. Lyris felt her breath catch. Entitled. The word carried weight. They spoke for a long time after that, about humanity, about mistakes. About how humans had almost destroyed themselves more than once, and how they kept choosing to try again anyway. About art and stories, and the strange human habit of finding meaning even when none was promised. Evan never once suggested she should choose humanity. Never once hinted at benefit or gain. When the conversation ended, he stood. Thank you for your time. You are not afraid of me, Lyris said. Evan considered. I think I respect you too much to be afraid. After he left, Lyris remained standing long after the doors closed. For the first time in her life, someone had seen her not as a future, not as a resource, not as an answer, but as herself. And for reasons she did not yet understand, that mattered more than all the stars watching her. The days after the meeting did not bring peace to Lyris. They brought noise. Messages arrived from every direction. Some were polite, some were desperate, some were carefully written promises filled with logic and numbers. Others were emotional appeals, speaking of destiny and duty. Entire civilizations waited for her answer. Lyris read them all, then she closed them. She stood again by the great window of her chamber, watching ships move like slow stars. Each one represented a future chosen for her by someone else. Her thoughts returned again and again to one quiet human who had asked for nothing. That disturbed her more than all the pressure. The Elendari Council noticed the change. She is delaying longer than expected, one elder said. Perhaps she is calculating, another replied. No, said the oldest among them, she is questioning. That was dangerous. Humanity's observation ship remained in orbit, small and unimpressive compared to the others. It carried no weapons of note, no symbols of power. Inside, Evan sat at a simple desk, reviewing cultural data. He had already sent his official report. Lyris Elendari is intelligent, composed, and under immense pressure. Recommendation, do not interfere. That was all. He did not expect another summons. When it came, he stared at the message for several seconds before standing. This time there were no attendants waiting when he entered her chamber. Lyris had dismissed them. She stood barefoot on the smooth floor, wearing simple clothing instead of ceremonial dress. Without the lights and observers, she looked younger, more real. You came, she said. You asked, Evan replied. She nodded. Sit or stand, do what feels natural. He chose to sit on the low bench near the window. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The silence was not uncomfortable. That alone surprised Lyris. Why does your species not chase me? She finally asked. Evan blinked. That's a strong word. It fits, she said calmly. Others compete, they plan, they argue over me as if I am territory. Evan sighed softly. Humans used to do that a lot. Used to. We still make mistakes, he admitted. But we learned something the hard way. People don't thrive when they're owned or pressured or treated like prizes. Lyris tilted her head. Yet your history is full of conflict. Yes, Evan said simply, because we forget our lessons. Then remember them again, over and over. That honesty caught her attention. Why are you here, Evan Carter? She asked. He looked out at the stars. Because we wanted to understand the galaxy before trying to change it. That is not how others behave. No, he agreed. It's not. Lyris walked closer, sitting across from him. If I chose humanity, what would you expect from me? Evan answered without hesitation. Nothing you don't choose to give. The words settled slowly. You would not guide your species, she asked. Only if you wanted to, he said, and only as a partner, not a ruler. You would not shape your future around me? We'd shape it with you, Evan said gently, or without you if that's what you wanted. Lyris felt something shift inside her. Her entire life choice had been an illusion. Everyone claimed to respect it, but they all moved as if her decision was already made. This human spoke as if the choice truly belonged to her. Later that cycle, Lyris requested human cultural records, not edited versions. Not summaries, the raw history. Her attendants hesitated. Much of it is troubling. I know, Lyra said. That is why I want it. She spent hours watching human memories. Wars, yes, but also rebuilding. Failure followed by effort. Individuals standing against crowds, sometimes losing, sometimes changing everything. Humans had no destiny written in their biology. They made their own meaning, again and again. One record showed humans landing on a dead world, knowing it might never support them. They went anyway not to conquer, but to learn. Another showed humans leaving messages for future generations, knowing they might never be remembered. Lyris closed the final file, eyes dim with thought. They are unfinished, she whispered. Pressure increased. Delegates grew impatient. Some sent warnings disguised as concern. Others spoke of instability if she delayed further. The Elendari Council requested her presence. You are disrupting balance, an elder said. Balance built on expectation, Lyris replied calmly. You were born for this role. Born, yes, she said, but not owned by it. Silence followed. One elder leaned forward. This human influence has shown me something, Lyris interrupted, that I have never been allowed to want. The council exchanged uneasy looks. Evan did not know he was being discussed. He sat alone in the observation lounge, watching the great station outside the window. Humans were small in this galaxy, and somehow that felt right. When Lyris arrived, unannounced, he stood quickly. You shouldn't be here alone, he said. She smiled faintly. Neither should you. They stood side by side, looking out into space. Evan, she said quietly, do humans fear being insignificant? He thought for a long time. Sometimes. But we learned that being small doesn't mean being unimportant. It means every choice matters more. She turned to him. I am afraid. He did not ask why. That's okay, he said. So am I most days. She laughed softly. A real laugh, not the polite sound she used in public. In that moment, the galaxy outside seemed less heavy. For the first time, Lyris imagined a future that was not already decided. And that frightened her. And excited her. The Hall of Concord had never been this quiet. Thousands of beings filled the massive chamber, yet no one spoke. The air itself seemed to wait. Light panels dimmed and brightened slowly, reacting to the rising emotional energy of the room. At the center stood Lyris. She wore ceremonial white, the symbol of final decision. Soft lines of light moved across the fabric, reacting to her thoughts. Her face was calm, but inside her mind, everything felt loud. This was the moment the galaxy had prepared for generations. Every major power was present, every species that mattered. Every future that could be imagined stood behind her like unseen shadows. She could feel them all. Expectation, fear, hope, possession. High above, observers broadcast the moment across known space. Entire worlds watched, schools paused, councils stopped debating. Ships held position, one choice, one name. That was all it would take to change everything. Lyris took a slow breath. Her eyes moved across the chamber. She saw the crystalline logic lords, confident and still. She saw the Empire delegates, smiling politely, already planning. She saw the collectives, patient, certain she would see reason. Then she saw the human section. Small, quiet, Evan stood there, hands folded behind his back, his expression unreadable. He did not look hopeful, he looked concerned. That nearly broke her. The speaker of the Concord stepped forward. Lyris of the Elendari, the voice echoed gently, the galaxy waits. Have you made your choice? Yes, Lyris said. The single word carried farther than sound. A ripple passed through the chamber. Then speak it, the speaker said. Lyris closed her eyes. For a moment, she remembered being young, surrounded by teachers who told her who she would become. She remembered never being asked what she wanted. She remembered silence filled with expectation. Then she remembered a human who sat when invited, spoke honestly, and asked for nothing. She opened her eyes. I choose, she said clearly, humanity. The chamber exploded into noise, gasps, confused signals, shocked reactions that crossed language barriers. Some delegates stood abruptly, others froze, unable to process the words. The speaker hesitated. Please repeat for clarity. I choose humanity, Lyris said again, not as rulers, not as owners, but as partners. Chaos spread. That is illogical, a crystalline voice rang out. This destabilizes balance, shouted another. You are making an emotional decision, accused an imperial delegate. Lyris raised one hand. The chamber fell silent again. I have heard your offers, she said calmly. They were generous, powerful, certain. But none of you asked me what I wanted. You told me what I would become. She turned slightly, her gaze finding Evan. Humanity did not. Evan's breath caught. They did not promise greatness, she continued. They did not demand loyalty, they did not claim destiny. They offered choice. Murmurs spread again, quieter now. Choice is inefficient, one voice said. Choice is unstable, said another. Yes, Lyris agreed, and it is alive. Back on the human observation ship, alarms quietly activated, not for danger, for attention. Human leaders watched the broadcast in stunned silence. She chose us, one whispered. But we didn't, another began. Evan's communicator buzzed. He didn't answer. He couldn't move. In the hall, pressure mounted. This alliance lacks precedent, the speaker said carefully. Then let us create one, Lyris replied. She turned fully toward the galaxy. I will not be owned. I will not be placed on a throne or locked into purpose. I will walk beside those who walk with me. She paused. If that is unacceptable, then perhaps the galaxy is not ready for me. That statement sent another shockwave. The Elendari Council shifted uneasily. They had expected compromise, not defiance. After the session ended, Lyris left the hall without ceremony. She did not wait for congratulations. She went straight to the human ship. Security protocols hesitated, then opened. Evan met her in the entry chamber. For the first time, he looked shaken. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. Yes, Lyris replied. I did. They're going to pressure you, Evan said. Question you, maybe try to change your mind. They already are, she said softly. He looked at her. Why us? She studied him for a long moment. Because you didn't want me, she said. You wanted me to choose. Evan swallowed. That's a heavy thing to carry, he said. I know, she replied. That's why I didn't want to carry it alone. The galaxy reacted quickly. Some worlds celebrated, some panicked. Some quietly studied humanity for the first time. Analysts searched human history for manipulation. They found none, only struggle, only effort, only choice. That confused them more than power ever could. That night Lyris stood once more by a window, this time aboard a human ship. The stars looked the same, but everything else had changed. Do you regret it? Evan asked gently. No, she said. Are you afraid? Yes, he nodded. Good, that means it matters, she smiled. For the first time, the future felt unknown, and for the first time that felt like freedom. The galaxy did not calm down. It reacted. News spread faster than ships could travel. Networks repeated the moment again and again, Lyris standing tall, saying the word humanity as if it were destiny itself. Some worlds erupted in celebration. Others fell into panic. Councils gathered in emergency sessions. Analysts spoke nonstop. Philosophers argued until their voices failed. No one could agree on one thing. Why would she choose them? Humans were not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, yet she had chosen them. That frightened the galaxy. On the conquered station, pressure returned like a storm. Requests flooded in for interviews, explanations, reversals. Delegates demanded private meetings. Some spoke calmly. Others hid anger behind polite words. Lyris refused most of them. Instead, she requested something unprecedented. A public address, not a political speech. A personal one. The Hall of Concord opened again, this time without ceremony. No banners, no seating by power, no rankings. Anyone could attend. Billions watched from across the stars. Lyris stood alone at the center. She did not wear ceremonial clothing. She wore the simple garments she preferred, plain, light, honest. The speaker began. Lyris of the Elendari has requested to speak freely. No interruptions, no debate. Silence followed. Lyris took a breath. I know many of you are confused, she said. Some are angry, some feel betrayed, others feel afraid. Her voice was calm, steady. You believe I made an emotional decision, she continued. That I ignored logic, that I endangered balance. She paused. You are wrong. Murmurs spread. I studied all of you, Lyris said. Your offers, your histories, your futures, you offered me certainty. She raised her head slightly. But certainty is not the same as life. The chamber grew quiet. You offered me purpose, she said. But it was never my purpose. It was always yours. She let that settle. Humanity offered me something none of you did. She turned, gesturing toward the human section. They offered me uncertainty, choice, and the freedom to walk away, gasps echoed. To many of you, Lyris said, that sounds weak, inefficient, dangerous. She smiled faintly. To humans, it is respect. On the human ship, Evan stood frozen, watching the broadcast. He had not known she would do this. His hands shook slightly. Lyris continued. Humans do not promise perfection, she said. They promise effort, they fail often, they learn slowly, but they do something rare. She looked directly into the viewing lens. They choose each other every day. Some listeners shifted uncomfortably. Humans are not bound by destiny, Lyris said. They are bound by decision. They build meaning where none is guaranteed. They love without certainty of return. They protect without promise of reward. She paused again. That is why I chose them. Questions flooded the chamber, but the speaker raised a hand. One final statement, they said. Lyris nodded. I am not humanity's prize, she said clearly, and humanity did not win me. She smiled, small but real. I walked to them. The broadcast ended. The galaxy did not know what to do with that. Reaction followed in waves. Some species withdrew their ships in silence. Others sent observers to human space for the first time. A few began quiet changes in their own cultures, small at first but meaningful. The idea spread like a whisper. What if choice mattered more than control? On the human ship, the mood was tense. Leaders debated quietly. Advisors worried. Strategists warned of consequences. Evans slipped away. He found Lyris in a quiet observation room looking out at the stars. You didn't have to explain yourself, he said softly. I wanted to, she replied. They're going to challenge you, Evans said. Push you, test humanity through you. I know, she said. He hesitated. And if we fail, Lyris turned to him. Then we learn, she said. Like you do. He laughed quietly, tired but sincere. You really studied us. I did, she said, and I liked what I found. They stood together in silence. That night's cycle, a message arrived from the Elendari Council. Return home, we must reconsider. Lyris read it once, then closed it. No, she said. Evan looked at her. That's a big step. Yes, she agreed. But it's mine. Across the galaxy, something subtle shifted. Not borders, not power, perspective. For the first time, humanity was not seen as small. It was seen as dangerous in a new way, not because it conquered, but because it taught others they did not have to be owned. Lyris rested her hand against the glass, stars reflected in her eyes. Evan, she said quietly, do humans ever regret teaching others to choose? He thought carefully. Sometimes, he said, but we regret more when we don't, she smiled. For the first time since her birth, the future felt like an open path, and she had chosen to walk it, not alone.